Hi everyone. We're just gonna wait a few minutes to let people join. If you can hear me, press the green yes button, please. Those that have joined, it's under the participant list. Yes, great. Okay. Okay, thank you. We have had 140 people register and people are coming in, so we'll just give a few minutes. We'll start at 12:03 or 12:04. Hi, Ben. I see familiar names.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm going to get back to you about that piece, by the way.
Not a problem. It's not like there's a whole lot else going on.
Well, hopefully we'll launch it in May. So.
All right. Yeah. Whenever you get a final draft, send it my way and I'll check it out.
Sounds good. Hi. You use your LinkedIn profile, right?
Not really.
Okay.
I have it. I particularly do not enjoy LinkedIn, so that's what I'm hoping. Like, I actually personally have perhaps an unhealthy disdain for LinkedIn, so I'm hoping that this will help me see the utility in it.
All right. Well, you'll have to share why so, and I'll try to convince you otherwise.
All right, I will.
Okay. Those that want to turn their video on, please feel free. It kind of feels weird staring at my own face, but hi Beth, thank you for turning your video on. I'm going to try and make this as interactive as possible, which means that we'll have a bunch of polls so we can talk that way. Thank you, John. Thank you, Rachel. We'll talk that way, but then feel free to drop in messages in the chat box if you have any questions that pop up. And in the end, we'll open up to a bunch of questions. So giving it a few more minutes for people to sign in. We're doing good here with the numbers, 78 people at 12:01, which is awesome. I'm going to be reaching out to Zoom and letting them know that they should have music while we wait. There should be an option for music. Hi, Tay. Hi, Dora.
Hi.
Hi, Vinayak. Guys, if you have a LinkedIn profile, I just had an idea. Like, you should drop your LinkedIn profile link in this chat box and then expand upon your LinkedIn network here if you want. If you're not like Ben and don't like and hate LinkedIn. So feel free to connect with one another. You guys are your own network at Hopkins. So if you want to add your LinkedIn list, then great. I'm liking all the interaction in the chat box, everyone. Okay. So 90 people. 2 more minutes. If you hear a dog or a child crying at any point, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, thank you. Great job, guys. I'll save the chat, and when I forward you the slides or the recording later, I'll add the LinkedIn profiles on there. Hey, Natalie. Okay, I think we're gonna start. Let me see how many people are here. There are about 100 of you joined in right now, and I'm disappointed that the rest of people who join won't get to hear something awesome in the beginning. But let me get started. So I'm just happy you guys were able to join me today. I hope everyone's doing well. You are all from every single department across multiple schools at Hopkins, which is great. So you're all in each other's network already. So my name is Roshni, and I am the director of this new career services office called Futures with a PH. And I've been an avid LinkedIn user since 2017 because I was a postdoc in 2017 and I wanted to get a job outside of the academic job market. So in 2017, it took me a year to understand LinkedIn and how to use it. And then 2018, I transitioned into my next position. So out of the 10 job interviews I ever got, 9 out of 10 leads, and I'm not saying interviews, 9 out of 10 leads were through LinkedIn. Out of the 3 job offers that I got immediately within the first 6 months of postdoc, one was in consulting, one was in grants, and one was in higher education, came out of LinkedIn applications, okay, and reaching out to people on informational interviews. Um, every single career panel that I've put on for you guys, which includes the one that we had last week with UX researchers, and then the one previously in medical science liaison, everyone has belonged in my network or I've reached out to via LinkedIn. So there's that. So I've reached out to people. I've had some success in terms of using LinkedIn and really making that human connection. Many people have joked with me that I should have LinkedIn stock because I talk about LinkedIn so much to everyone, which is why I aptly titled today's session as Rock Your Profile. Okay, so fully accompanied with music. And I asked my Instagram followers yesterday in a poll, I said, is it appropriate to start a presentation with AC/DC? And the general consensus was always, it is always appropriate. So let me first ask you guys, if we were in a real room together, let me ask you if you have a LinkedIn profile, okay? So here's a question that's popped up on your screen, and let's see how many people have and have not, don't have LinkedIn profiles. So a lot of answers coming in, and I'm going to share the poll with you in a second. All right, so that's a good number. and I'm going to end the polling and share the results with you. As you can see, majority of the folks who are attending today's session, which by the way, the session is for intermediate and beginner users, have a LinkedIn profile already. Okay, so you see that 88%. Let me ask you another question. Do you have other social media sites that you use? And you can use many, you can choose as many options as you want. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest. Most people have Facebook. A lot of people have Instagram. A lot of people are still voting. A few people have Pinterest, okay? 34 people have Twitter. So let me share that result with you as well. So here we have a lot of people using Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest. And let's move on, knowing that information, let's move on from rock to something light and fluffy. Let's talk donuts, okay? So what I mean by donuts is we're gonna look at donuts on various social media platforms. On Facebook, the general consensus is, or the image that we're portraying is, I like donuts. Instagram says, here is a photo of my donut. Spotify, we're talking about, I'm listening to donuts. And Pinterest, we're talking about, here is a recipe for donuts. But when it comes to LinkedIn, what are we talking about when it comes to donuts, right? I hope to open a donut franchise. I'm looking for a company, for a job at a donut company. I have 3 years of experience making donuts. My top skills are donut sales and marketing. Here are 3 recommendations from former colleagues in donuts. So obviously, when you use social media, LinkedIn is not your typical social media platform, right? So the question is, what is the actual need for LinkedIn? Like, why LinkedIn then? This number here, 630 million, that's the old number. The new number is there are 675 million professionals on LinkedIn, okay? These are all stats and data. There are 63 million decision makers, 90 million senior level influencers. So pretty much a lot of people on LinkedIn, a treasure trove of expert knowledge. In particular, we're not just talking about people within the country, the state, or the city. We're talking about global visibility and connection. There are many, many users across the globe. In fact, I think India has the most number of LinkedIn users, followed by Brazil. So we have a lot of folk you could reach out to and you can connect with, right? What really matters to us is the job. So it features 20 million jobs from approximately 30 million companies. 90% of recruiters use LinkedIn, and 122 million people thus far have received an interview through LinkedIn. 35 million have actually gotten job offers. So that's great. These are all numbers. Maybe these are numbers that companies have put together. Maybe these are numbers that people in the little senior positions have put together, right? So the question really is, as a PhD, why do I need a LinkedIn? That's something that I really want to address. But first, for those of you that don't like using LinkedIn, I want to get a sense of why not. Okay. So either I don't like social media in general, or I don't see its value, or maybe I'm intimidated by it, or I actually love it. Okay, the polls are coming in. A lot of you are answering. Ooh, okay. Interesting results. All right, I'm about to shut the polls if you're not done voting, like this last few seconds. And let me share the results with you. A lot of you either don't like social media in general or are generally intimidated by LinkedIn. Okay, so for those that say I actually love it, great. I'm one of those people who actually either love it or sometimes love it, but I do see value in it, which is what I want to sort of convince you about today. Okay, so what is the value that this platform can bring to us as PhDs? So as PhDs, maybe we look like this bottom section. Maybe you're an engineer, maybe you're a humanist or a social scientist, maybe you're a researcher or a scientist. The common element between all of these disciplines is that we're experts, right? An expert is a professional who has acquired certain skills over a period of study. And so what meaning does that bring to our degree to be viewed as experts? LinkedIn platform, to me, I've seen, has a chance to gives us the chance to sort of establish ourselves as an expert. Okay, so right now our network comprises the people that we work with, the people, maybe we belong to certain clubs or organizations, maybe our mentors form part of a network. We do have a network and we're one node in a larger network, right? But LinkedIn just gives us a chance to broaden our network a little more and to connect with people in various fields that we may not know anything about but might be interested in. For me as a PhD, this is what has served the most amount of value. I was at a point in my postdoc where I didn't know what I wanted to do next, and so I was exploring various career paths. Upon reflection, I realized that I could get a lot of information from folks who are already experts in the field, and so I reached out to people on LinkedIn. One of you had a question about what's a good conversational starter and how do you connect with people on LinkedIn. We'll talk about that just a little bit later on, but it serves as a great platform to get informational interviews. Okay, and again, we're able to provide some value to the community by putting ourselves out there in the space. We're able to showcase what we're an expert in, and in return we're able to solve certain problems for other people. And again, I'll demonstrate it. It's real life evidence. I just don't want to throw sentences out there. Okay, and of course you attract recruiters when you're at that peak of job search, and it helps you apply for jobs. The LinkedIn job search feature has worked exceptionally well for me, and so I'm just sharing my experience with you. So that's in it for you. These are the different categories. If I can boil it down to two things, I'd say visibility and addition, and the ability to add value and to receive value from someone else. Those are two takeaways that have worked for me and that I stick to this. Okay, so visibility and value. Let me open up my LinkedIn inbox. If the statistics hasn't convinced you, or the sentences that I presented to you haven't convinced you yet, let me go back to 2017 and share with you a point where my LinkedIn looked like a LinkedIn profile of an immunologist. It was very scientific, it wasn't broad, very specific, and I was working on updating it a little by little when I was a postdoc. At that point, a recruiter contacted me and said, "Hi, Roshni, I want to connect with you regarding a senior immunologist opportunity. Here is the job description, whatever, whatever, whatever." So at that point, I knew one thing for sure, and that was I wasn't going into a bench position ever again. So what I did was I thanked the recruiter for sending that across my way. And then I told them that I do know another colleague, another postdoc who's actually interested in joining industry and who actually lives near Walkersville, Maryland. Let me sort of refer you to them. And I gave her the information of that person. So I couldn't get anything out of this recruiter reaching out to me, and I didn't want to, but I was able to pass that along to someone else. Okay, so recruiter reaches out to me. Then I mentioned expanding our network. So last 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, we had JHU alumni Jason Howard, who did his PhD and postdoc at East Baltimore in the pharmacology department. I didn't know anyone who was a medical science liaison, but I wanted to bring someone who was a medical science liaison to my old job at the NIH. So I reached out to Jason randomly on LinkedIn. I explained why I would like him to come and what value he would bring to the students and postdocs I was serving. And all he replied was, "Not a problem. Let me know when you're thinking about doing this, and I'll try to keep my schedule clear." So he came in person, the session was great. And then a year later, I reached out to him about a month ago during this period and said, "Hey, are you willing to do this again for Hopkins students? Let's do it virtual this time." And we had a fantastic session. So I'm able to expand my network by getting to know all these people who are experts in various fields by simply reaching out to them. Someone asked me, is it appropriate to reach out to people and ask for these questions? That's what the platform's for. This is the expectation. Everyone sort of does this anyway. So it wasn't a problem. I have no shame asking. Next, over a period of time, when I started getting into this career, professional development, higher education field, I started being viewed as an expert. So my profile was getting visibility from other postdocs. So here's a postdoc who reached out to me and said that they were interested in getting into the field of professional development. Would I be able to add them to my network, and it would be exciting for them to learn about my career journey? Of course, if you put it that way, of course I'd like to talk about myself. So I said yeah, and we set up a meeting, and she learned a little bit about how I got into this field. And then here, I want to specify, once you start updating and being active on LinkedIn, The key over here is that you start seeing people with the job title recruiter land on your page. Every time I've done something different on my LinkedIn, like maybe I changed my profile picture, or I added an award or something that I like someone's post, I see more activity when it comes to who views my profile. Okay, so recruiters are great; they're on my profile. That means I'm doing something right. So once I even updated that I won an award, and I can agree that it's very cringy to want to say, hey guys, look at me. I just got an award and I put it on LinkedIn, right? But I thought at that point I was looking for a position. I thought what matters to me most is to get over, and that I'm talking about myself, was to get over that fact that I might feel uncomfortable doing that, but just showcase my work and how meaningful it is. And I put that out there irrespective of the number of likes and comments, which are never on social media. I really don't chase those. It's more the views. And 13,000 people viewed that post. And for me, that was important because it meant that not only my network was viewing my post, but my network's network and network was viewing my post. And that was, and I don't want to sound superficial, but with the LinkedIn platform, this matters because, again, then you start attracting different experts to your field, you start attracting recruiters. So I saw value in doing that. So that's where we're at. I hope I've semi convinced you, and then I'm looking at you about some value of the LinkedIn network itself. And now let's just get into the overview of the different sections. So that's what we're here for. We're trying to learn, if we're intermediate or beginner users, how to actually update our LinkedIn profile and rock it. So here's a screenshot of my phone when I'm browsing through LinkedIn, and you'll see here who's viewed your profile, my activity, my experience, different sections, and I'm going real fast. So the different main sections are profile and cover photo, an intro or a headline, the about section, which is the summary section, and background, skills, accomplishments, and recommendations. Now, the background and accomplishments are further divided into subsections, but today I really want to focus and zoom in on the intro and the summary section, which are the hardest parts to write for any LinkedIn profile. So let's go into the profile photo and let's have a little bit of fun. We're not judging me on my beauty here. We're judging this picture on what you think is the best photo for LinkedIn. Picture A, B, or C. Oh, wow. You guys, I would like to hear from the person who said B. I'm just interested. Maybe you're like me, or like you like the artistic pictures of looking into the distance. That was one of my Facebook profile pictures from my more angsty years. So anyway, I'm going to end polling and I'm going to share the results. So you guys are right. A majority of you said number C, uh, which is true, and we'll go over why. Let me stop sharing the results for a second. And let's look at why. So in general, LinkedIn profiles with profile pictures receive 21 times more visibility and 9 times more the possibility of getting a friend request. I, in fact, don't accept LinkedIn profiles without a picture. I mean, I just don't do that with Facebook or Instagram or anything because I just question it. So you want to have a professional photo, which means no selfies. Hopefully it's high resolution. Professional is always better. If we were not locked down by COVID, part of this LinkedIn workshop would be me offering you a chance to get your headshot taken. In my previous job at the NIH, I don't know how it became that I became the official LinkedIn photographer, but I really like taking portrait photographs. So I've offered that, again, provided value to my postdocs there. You want to focus on the top half. You want to be torso upwards. Just from a psychological point of view, you want the picture to be friendly and approachable. The one in the distance is fine, but it doesn't showcase, you can't, the eyes are the window to the soul, so you can't see my face, and it doesn't peg me as approachable at all. And with all social media, you want to be able to be careful about using filters. Oh, by the way, guys, I forgot to record this entire session, so I'll be re-recording it later and sending you the video. So anyway, you want to be able to use filters wisely. Every social media platform has filters, and you can want to fancify it, but I think natural lighting is the best. You don't want to over filter your photographs. And your question may be, what about the cover photo? You know, the stuff on top right over here. Do I upload that as well? And my answer is yes. Use the space. It's just another chance for you to portray who you are. In my previous job, I had a word cloud that told the viewers of my profile exactly what my job entailed. It said postdocs, empower, careers, scalability, accessibility, diversity. It was a nice, neat little word cloud. It was blue and white, so it went along aesthetically with the rest of my profile. And then in this job, I created this little Futures logo, so I put that up because I'm kind of proud of my artwork. But use it, but don't put something random like flowers or a cityscape of Chicago, even if you're not from Chicago. It doesn't make sense because if people are going to profile, that's another prime real estate region for getting to know who you are. So it could be if you're going into industry Ben's position, it could be some sciencey things like some cells you worked on or some technique that you worked on, but something related, something very strategic. Okay, so use that space. Don't leave it blank. So here's my favorite and least favorite part of LinkedIn. It's this one line intro and headline. So to begin with, what's the intro section? The intro section looks something like this. You got this headline over here on the red box. You can edit it by clicking that button on the right. And of course, in that section, you can, here you get 120 characters for your headline section. And then you can go down and there are various things that you can set, like your current position, your zip code, etc. Okay, so that's not what we're looking at right now. That's something that you can play around with. But what we're looking for is that headline section. So let me go back to my video and look at my headline. One thing I want to say to you is that my headline evolves every week, every month, every year. It changes. It's continuously changing because I get a new idea of how to update it. Last week, it had something like utilizing divergent thinking to connect PhDs to opportunity. And I thought that was a bunch of BS. So I just changed it a week ago. In the past, when I was an immunologist, I said immunologist, something something enthusiast, storyteller. And I thought that was the most crappiest headline I could ever have because what a storyteller got anything to do with my job, right? It doesn't say anything about who I am. Storyteller is such a generic word to use for a scientist, and it didn't provide any sort of value. Rather, I want you to start thinking about the headline as being something catchy and engaging. Why? Because that's the first thing people see. Along with your profile picture, if they're browsing through other people's LinkedIn and you pop up as a suggestion, that's the first thing people see is your headline and your profile picture. You want it to stand out from everyone else's and you want to state in those 120 characters what value you bring. What would make someone reach out to you? What do you do? What are you good at? And it's not a space to use buzzwords. So for me, I settled on, and this is just yesterday, I love helping PhDs connect to opportunity. It's vague. It tells you a little bit about my passion of loving to help people. PhDs being the key word because futures, and it allows me to create that sort of personal brand. Okay, so I love helping PhDs connect to opportunity. That's essentially me in a nutshell. It tells you a little bit about me and has a little bit of personality. So what do you not want to do? Okay, you don't want to, and I can just open up LinkedIn now in the next second, and this is what I'll see. PhD student, postdoc at Hopkins. And every single one of you has PhD student at Hopkins on their profile page, okay? It doesn't make you stand out. I don't know what you do. I don't know which department you're in. I don't like to see these buzzwords that I'd mentioned earlier. Same thing with your resume. You don't want to state these words in there. Strategic thinker, problem solver, innovator, ninja. Everyone does it, motivated. All these words are all highly overused, and people, at least seasoned recruiters, cringe at even hearing these words. You don't want to say unemployed. And I'm not joking because I just put unemployed in LinkedIn, and there's a whole bunch of people's profiles with unemployed show up. Clearly, they have some value to offer. Clearly, their expertise at something. They've had a job before. So why say unemployed, right? And I don't like to waste space in these 120 characters and state that I'm seeking new opportunities. If I'm seeking new opportunities or I'm looking for a summer internship, I'd rather have that in my summary section rather than in my headline. Okay. So what are the other things that you can do? And I'm not simply telling you what not to do. I want to actually provide real life examples of what you can put as your LinkedIn headline. But the way in which I would like for you to start thinking about the headline is you want to use keywords. So keywords might be specific to your industry. Most recruiters will just type in a keyword like machine learning or something like that, and then profiles pop up based on those keywords. So think about what keywords you want to add into your own headline. And you want to showcase value you bring to the table. If you can quantify or you can state what you're working on or what you plan to work on, that's acceptable too. Examples. Let's look at an engineer because a lot of you here are engineers, okay? And we'll look at an engineering example. Machine learning engineer, TensorFlow, deep learning at Johns Hopkins University. The intention behind putting the word Johns Hopkins University there is because the university name carries weight. So it's in the headline. And then the reason why we said TensorFlow deep learning is because those are what the person who updated it saw jobs were looking for. So they are an expertise that they're expert at that field. So they put that field there. Say they're an AI engineering student. So they say AI engineering student. Rather than saying PhD student Hopkins, we're specifying what field and we're mentioning Hopkins. And then we quantify building AI that boosts user attention by 789%. Maybe their research that they did does that. It boosts user retention in whatever field. Suppose you're, and some of you are from the East Baltimore campus, you're in healthcare, using big data to reduce hospital readmission rates by 17%. Or maybe you don't have all this experience because you're a first year student or you're a complete novice. Start with this. State what you do. You're a PhD researcher in chemistry. You're the president of the consulting club or science policy group or medical graduate student association. You state that because that's your experience as well. It might not be job titles, but it's your experience. Or you're in the humanities and the social sciences, and maybe you want to say multilingual outreach librarian specializing in cultural storytelling and building cross-community relationships. In this context, storytelling is fine because this is what the person does. So, or let me move you guys. Some of your videos are in my way. Um, and then another thing that you could say was researching, since you're a PhD student, digital music archives, best practices to provide state-of-the-art archive management and preservation. If you want to go into archives or digital archiving, this is a great topic. You don't have to be in the field. This is what you aspire to be in. And I found this yesterday of someone who's a current third year PhD student in neuroscience, but wants to eventually get into venture capital. And I loved it. It's a PhD student bridging neuroscience, entrepreneurship, and venture capital. And one of you sent me an email about how do I portray myself as someone who wants to get into venture capital. This is a good example. You can state how you're interested in it as well. Or maybe as a historian, you say innovative educator, Middle Eastern historian, advocate for immigrants. Tells me a little bit about yourself. So I hope when I've provided these little examples, it just all sounds better than simply PhD student or seeking opportunity, right? And there is a chance that you can create, there's a space for you to create yourself and create anything. I really liked my friend's headline. One day I was just browsing through LinkedIn and it said, ask me about immunology. And I thought it was brilliant. And I sent her a message immediately. I said, that's brilliant. It showcases you as an expert in immunology and it's a conversational starter. Ask me about immunology. Nice and simple. So, okay. Next, we're going to go into the other part of the other hard part. Again, I'm trying to move you guys aside. The other hard part, which is the about section or the summary section. If you write manuscripts, you realize, and you're a scientist, you know the discussion part is sort of the hardest part to write. And then sometimes the abstract is also the hardest part. So this for me on LinkedIn is very, very hard to write because you have 2,000 word limit. This is your chance to really expand upon who you are and what you bring to the table, okay? So don't look at my summary section yet. I don't like it. And me being someone who keeps changing it, I don't like it, but I left it to show you that it's not perfect and that it's a chance for it to completely evolve and completely change. Realize that the summary section in your LinkedIn is prime real estate. When they go to your profile, that's the first thing people see again after your headline. This is a chance to really create yourself and be aspirational. Many times I come across a LinkedIn profile that says, Roshni is a immunologist with a new career in career management or something weird where it talks from third person, the second person point of view. And it doesn't make sense because it's your profile. So speak in first person. In this section, and some of you asked me, how do I write the summary section? So in this section, you want to lose the academic side of you that tempts you to discuss that small thing that you're studying in the lab or that small field of study that you're researching in your PhD. This has to be a more conversational section. Lose the temptation to say, I study the PI3K AKT pathway and found that microRNA does this. Like, no one cares because as a recruiter, they're not going to know what you're talking about. And you want it to be more as your elevator pitch. Think what you would tell the hairdresser if you went to a hairdresser about what you do. Elevator pitch, short and simple. Avoid jargon, avoid buzzwords. Again, we'll go through two examples that are terrible and excellent, and we'll break that down. Tell your story. Simple. Who are you? What you do? And what value do you bring? If you don't know what you want to do or you're not in that field yet, mention what you would like to do. Okay. And of course, showcase some personality. So we're going to play a game called Nope or Dope. And you're going to tell me which one of these summaries is more dope than the other. So these are real life examples I found last night. And again, last night, because I spent way too much time inserting AC/DC into this PowerPoint. So let's look at someone I found yesterday. This person's summary section reads as follows. I'm a goal-oriented problem solver passionate about providing innovative solutions to daily annoyances. I notice that my experiences with failure lead to better outcomes in the long run, and I plan to continue to be part of creative startup companies throughout my career. I enjoy working with innovative thinkers in intellectually challenging environments. Okay, so that's A. B is a little longer, so I'm not going to read every word, but it says, let me move you guys to the side. It says, despite beginning the educational journey with purely experimental background and no coding skills, I am proficient in both Python and Julia. I am passionate about bringing my perspective as a neuroscientist to consulting and venture capital. In fact, I've had the opportunity to be part of the venture capital club. Let's go back to the last paragraph. It says, I am a firm believer that representation and inclusion of diverse perspectives will change the future of innovation. I aspire to bring forth that unique perspective as an immigrant, Latinx, first generation college and doctoral student, and queer identifying neuroscientist. Okay. And so let me ask you, which about section was more dope? Okay. 50 out of 112 voted. All right, 76 of you guys, 77. Polls are increasing. All right, I'm about to close the poll right now and share the results with everybody. Okay, share results. So most of you thought that section number B was along the lines of what I've been talking about, but some of you still think that post number A was better. Okay, so let me tell you my thoughts, and I have very strong opinions about this. So before I get to the actual dope or nope section, let's first acknowledge a fact. It is the hardest part to write. Again, it evolves with every role and with every new idea. It's a very dynamic piece. Why don't we start with writing 5 top characteristics? What makes me me? For example, for me, creativity, I like that. That's a good aspect about me. I'm a connector, bring people together. I'm good. If we were in person, I like public speaking. I like standing up in front of people. I like talking. So public speaking. So I list my 5 characteristics. Then what I do is I browse jobs that sort of jump out of me. Say I'm sitting in the toilet or something and I'm just browsing through my phone. I passively absorb what LinkedIn jobs pop out at me or what jobs anywhere pop out. And then I try to match the two and thread the two together. And then I construct my summary. I tell the world what skills I have learned or what skills I'm picking up. And I explain to them how I see that translating into what I want to do. I also like to throw in a little bit of a personal side. Okay. So in the first section, by the way, And I had said in this first section, if you could think of every single buzzword that is very cringy and annoying and string it together in a sentence, you would get this paragraph. Goal-oriented problem solver, passionate about providing innovative solution to daily annoyances. What does that mean, and who are you, and what value do you bring? This person noticed that their experience with failure led to better outcomes. So she promotes failing multiple times. I don't know. I didn't like that part. It didn't sit well with me. And I plan to be part of creative startup companies throughout her career. So throughout her career, she wants to be part of a startup company, which is already like not working out as terms of a recruiter and thinking whether I should hire this person. I enjoy working with innovative thinkers in intellectually challenging environments. Well, so do we all, right? So it didn't tell me anything about her or what value she brings to the table other than some broad generic words, just goal oriented or storyteller, problem solver, passionate, right? But with this guy, who, by the way, I immediately became friends with, I sent a message to him saying, I am giving a talk to PhD students at Hopkins about LinkedIn summaries, and I really loved your summary. And today he sent me a message saying, good luck with your talk. And we became friends. And that's how easy it is to start a conversation with someone. He seemed like a really cool person. So why do I like this profile? In the very first paragraph or very first few sentences, and by the way, his summary section is too long, so that's the only flaw it has. But if I were to break it down, he says, despite beginning this educational journey with an experimental background, I have learned Python and Julia. He's right off the bat telling people that he had no experience, but he learned that stuff and he sold himself. Then over here, he says, I work in the laboratory. However, I have other plans beyond the laboratory. He's saying it as it is. He's not trying to peg himself as just one thing or the other. Okay. And over here at the bottom, he says he wants to get into venture capital and entrepreneurship. And he's telling everyone his experience in that field. And in the end, when he talks about being an immigrant, a first generation doctoral student, and queer identifying neuroscientist, he's telling us a little bit about his personality, who he is, what he brings to the table. And of course, diverse perspectives and diverse candidates are what many companies are looking for. So for the person who asked me, how do I change my summary to it reflecting my interest to get into venture capital, this is how you do it. This is an excellent summary. I hope to learn from this and craft my own summary as well. So at this point, let me see if there were any questions. I thought you were not supposed to connect with people you don't know well enough to recommend for a job. What are your views on this? Catherine, do you mean you're not supposed to connect with random people? Or what do you mean by recommend for a job? So I'll wait for you to clarify in the text a little bit, but let me move on to the next section. And this is your background section. Let me turn off my little laser pointer for a second here. Okay, and I'll play the video for you. So background includes, yes, we'll come to the questions in a second. Thank you for raising your hand. So your background section here is everything that you've done. It includes any licenses, certifications, any courses that you may have taken on LinkedIn itself. You can attach media to your LinkedIn profile. Anytime you won an award or you had a manuscript, you can attach media. The point I'm trying to make is that you want to be able to, when you're job ready or getting ready to apply for jobs or reach out to people, complete all the sections. If you are a student, I think it's totally fine to have bullet points that complement or support your resume. Like if you're wondering where to start with the content, just cut, copy, paste your resume from the big to start off with, and then try to par it down a little bit. Utilize that media section. Think about times that someone took a photograph of you doing something professional. Maybe you went to the humanities advocacy meeting and there's a profile of you advocating for the humanities with senators on Capitol Hill. Put that on there. Okay. So if there's a picture, put that on there. Add any licenses and certifications. Now, instead of having bullet points, the more established folks, what they do, this guy is a very famous guy. He just puts in his background section a paragraph. He just says, here's where you can learn a little bit about my company and here are my clients, and that's it. Okay, so the more established folks can get away with putting in sort of like a paragraph. So at this point, the stop is not here because I want to stop, but it's more so to make a point, and I'll make a point in a second. Let me look at the chat room. Oh, okay, that's okay. If you have to leave for another talk. But Catherine, to clarify, okay, you're still typing, so I'll let you type. And the reason why I have stop here is because at this point, and because I'm just talking one way, I don't want to make you feel like this is super intimidating, that all this needs to be changed in the next week or so, and that any profile is perfect. The Sistine Chapel in the background took 4 years to make. It is full of flaws. I mean, all the female features have been criticized for looking like men, and there's a lot of criticism in perfect pieces of art. But the point is, nothing is perfect. There is no perfect resume. There is no perfect LinkedIn. There is no perfect candidate. So let's stop here. If you're feeling intimidated about updating your LinkedIn profile, then do it in small bits. Like today, just upload your profile picture. Next week, apply smaller sections. And I think I told you this yesterday, Tanya. It's like, just do it in small bits so that over time, your LinkedIn profile looks more and more complete. Okay. Um, Let me look at the chat box. First, Michelle, you raised your hand. What was your question? You can turn your video on.
Okay, so as far as the summary is concerned, do you have any comments on how much information is too much information to include in there, especially when you're currently employed? So, I mean, I understand that that's a place where you can talk about your current employment or your current kind of background, and then also you can talk a little bit about future prospects. But when you are currently employed, I would like to believe that that would be scaled back a little if you're thinking of career change.
Absolutely. So you don't want it to be long. If you're thinking of did you say you're thinking of a career change and that's why you're thinking about your summary?
Yes. So I mean, I would like to include some language in there to suggest that this is what I do now, and I'm also thinking about transitioning into something else, but knowing that my coworkers and other things might be able to view it, I wouldn't want to say so much in the summary.
Yes. Okay, so there's a solution to that. First of all, don't make your summary section too long that no one's going to read it. Hit on the right points that will appeal to the people in the field that you're transitioning into. So of course, state your interest in that field. However, if you're trying to indicate that you're ready to make that career transition, instead of stating that explicitly in the summary section, there is a section in your settings where you can say open to recruiters. So you click on that open to recruiters section. And as a recruiter, because I have done both, I have been a job seeker and I have hosted a job as a recruiter or whatever, I can see someone who's opened that up and I can approach them that way. So it doesn't have to be public. You just click on that little setting on your LinkedIn profile, and it's in the little pen section, the top, where you have the headline where you can edit that. Say open to recruiters, and it then asks you what fields you want recruiters to approach you on. Like you can say, I don't know, education or biotech or something like that, and you can state those fields. So that's a solution to that. So I think what Shima and Catherine were trying to say, is it appropriate to connect with someone with whom we don't have a connection in common? So that's something that we'll talk about in the next few slides, where I talk about who to connect with. Let me get back to you on that question when we get to that slide, because I can answer it over there. Okay, so I'm done with talking about the Sistine Chapel, and we're just going to move on to the next slide. And I'm going to answer the next sections of the LinkedIn profile, like the different sections, in order for you to complete it in the form of FAQs. Okay, so and that might answer your question in the chat box as well. Should I add and complete the volunteer experience section on my page? The question is yes, because you don't know upon what quality or aspect that you're putting forward that you're able to connect with someone. For instance, one time I was really attracted to a LinkedIn page with a recruiter that had dogs, and she was into like dogs and shelters and stuff like that. And that's my passion, like that. I love dogs and have done some work with that too. So that mutual connection made me feel like I didn't feel that intimidated in trying to approach her. So I approached a recruiter that way, which answers the question of how appropriate is it to reach out to employers to ask about work culture. So LinkedIn is for that. You can reach out to employers, you can reach out to random people who you're not connected with or you don't have a connection with, but whose field you're interested in, and ask for an informational interview. You can ask about company culture, or you can check out company culture on Glassdoor, Indeed, and LinkedIn jobs section as well. So Catherine has a question that's clarified. I was under the impression you should not accept people into your network that you would not recommend for a job because you're partially judged by your network. It reflects badly on you if you aren't up to standards. Okay, yeah. So that's the exact question that I will answer in the next few slides. Okay, I'll come back to that. So should you add your volunteer experience? Yes, please add it. Anything you can do to complete it. And then don't just add the name of the volunteering place, say what you did underneath it. Okay. Should I list my skills and ask for endorsements? So another section on LinkedIn is your skill section. And my answer to that is, it really depends. I don't view endorsements and skill listing as the top feature of LinkedIn because, for example, when I was an immunologist or a postdoc, my top skill was research. When I moved out of that career path, my top skill now becomes program development or something else. So I had to delete my skill that I got endorsed for PCR or techniques that I don't use anymore. And my LinkedIn didn't reflect, wasn't a reflection of who I am now. So if you already know what field you want to going into and you have some common skills that are applicable for all fields like leadership or something like that, you can state that as your skill and you can ask for people to endorse you if no one's endorsing you organically. It's fine to ask people for endorsements, especially your network, your friends or whatever, which is why I asked guys, put your LinkedIn profile in the chat box. We can help sort of each other by endorsing each other on certain skills as well. It's totally okay to do that. What about asking for recommendations? Well, I did. When I was trying to transition, I asked for recommendations because I felt that just added value to my profile. But who I asked for recommendations from was important. I wanted a colleague, I wanted a mentor, and I wanted someone who I'd worked with outside of my university. I have some other recommendations as well. But what I did was, it felt like extra validation and support. So when a recruiter was visiting my page, I felt like people with the title of vice president at University of South Carolina just added more value and that they endorsed me. That was great. I told them, like my friends, I said, can you please, when you write a recommendation letter, specify specify these certain skills, highlight my certain skills in leadership and communication. I would like that to come forth because I'm applying for those jobs. So it's okay and totally valid and totally acceptable in the LinkedIn world to specify to your recommendees what skills you want highlighted. It's just like asking for a recommendation letter from your mentor or your PI. You don't want it to be generic, you want it to be specific and tailored to that job. If you don't like someone's recommendation, like someone just randomly decided to give you out of the kindness of their own heart one day a recommendation letter, you don't like it, you don't have to showcase it, you can hide it. So you can always not accept it or you can hide it on your profile. And of course, LinkedIn is for adding value. So you want to write one back too. And I wrote one for my friend and it helped her in her job search as well. What about my other accomplishments? Do I add it? Honors, awards, patents, publications, any organizations? Yes, add it. But don't just state, for example, I don't know why my patent was in all caps, but I need to change that. But you don't want to just simply state the award. You want to explain what the award was. Same thing with your resume. Suppose I got an award called Dean Banhart Award, and that's it. And I don't say what the award was for. It doesn't let anyone know why I even won that award or what my skill set is. Suppose I said Dean Banhart Award given to a doctoral candidate who has demonstrated exceptional devotion to research throughout their graduate career, which is a title that I had in the award, and I tell them what cash prize and what plaque I got. It just added more value. I would recommend doing this for your resume as well. Don't just state the responsibility, but explain it. So here's a question about connections. How many connections should I make? Who should I accept? What should I do? So you're right, Catherine. Quality matters. Okay. If you'd asked me about 4 years ago when I was reading random articles on about LinkedIn and learning about LinkedIn, it said you must have over 500 connections on LinkedIn in order to matter. And I don't think that matters. Okay, your quality matters. You don't want to just rack up numbers for the sake of racking up numbers, especially if they're not relevant to the field that your expertise or your network. So who is in your network matters. Like, I'm not going to be adding today, that might change later, Kim Kardashian. I'm not adding her because it doesn't really add any value to my own profile, or I have nothing of value to sort of obtain from that connection or that network. And similarly, you can also follow companies or organizations on LinkedIn. Who you follow is public information. So I'm not following anything political. I don't want that to be any indication of that. I'm not following anything controversial. I follow Johns Hopkins University, University of Otago in New Zealand, my old university. I follow I don't know, who do I follow? Bill Gates or something like that. Like very specific random organizations, companies, and people. Also, what groups you belong to. Like, I belong to the PhD to consulting group, which is a large group on LinkedIn, and I belong to the Futures LinkedIn group that I created, right? So that's very obvious. It's on brand, and who you connect with that way also matters. So who you connect with, Catherine and Shima, is who you can provide value to and who you could receive value from. Suppose you're a neuroscientist, then connect with other neuroscientists. But suppose you're a neuroscientist who wants to go into venture capital, go ahead and send a personalized note to a venture capitalist who also probably has a PhD and say, I want to learn how you made this career journey or this career transition. Add them into your network. So it's totally okay to connect with people you don't know, but quality matters. Who you connect with really, really matters. Okay, let me just check the chat box because I think it was highlighted. Do I list the GPA from undergrad? Do I list the highest GPA from undergrad? You can. If there's an opportunity for you to put it in brackets, you can. You don't have to because you probably already listing that on your resume. LinkedIn is not, oh, it's an award. Yeah, go ahead and list that. If it's an award, go ahead and list that as well. Anything that you can do to complete. And remember, your LinkedIn is not necessarily your resume. It's more dynamic and more conversational. So you can add stuff that you don't add on your resume on there. So let me just summarize real quick before we open up to questions. In summary, you want to be able to you have a story, just bring your story to life on your platform. Reframe the way you think about LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be something cringy. You can get something from it, and you can provide value to others for it. So you can connect to opportunity using LinkedIn. And I showed you small examples of how I opened up my LinkedIn inbox and showed you examples of how opportunity has come to me or how I've reached out to opportunity. You want to ensure that who you are lines up with what you do. Your profile allows you to get recognized. It gives you credibility, and it's a chance to help others and bring value. So again, I'm not going to open up to questions right now, but I want to show you this feature on LinkedIn for job search. So jobs, what I do is I click PhD sociology and I search it by location. I said broadly United States, and then a whole bunch of jobs show up. And then I browse through the jobs. And I'm interested in this Facebook job. So I look at it. I go through the content. I see what they're looking for. I dissect the job description. I understand what skills they're looking for, and I save that. There's an option to save a job that you're interested in. Okay. I look at the responsibilities. I see if they're hiring a PhD, because remember I put in the search bar PhD sociology, and I see that their preferred qualification is PhD in psychology, sociology, economics, political science. It's kind of broad. And then I get certain LinkedIn insights. Okay, I understand that there are 85% of people who have applied for the job also have a PhD. And then I decide whether I want to apply for it or not. But the reason why I'm showing you this job search section was it leads me into the last thing. Now that you've set up this awesome LinkedIn profile, the question is, how do I use it? How do I network? Is there an art to following up? How do I use the jobs feature? Should I get LinkedIn premium connection? Because you have the basic, then you have the premium. How to turn, how not to, it should not be how to turn people off for good. How not to turn people off for good when you have messages. Should I post articles and be active? Whatever you do, LinkedIn is just not, you just don't plant the seeds and expect to, things to happen. You actually have to use the platform once you set up your profile. And as this, somehow this gif makes me cringe. I don't know, I don't like the seed trying to grow, so I'm going to get off this page. But this information, how to do this, how to utilize the platform, I want to save for another LinkedIn workshop and really open up my LinkedIn inbox and show you things that have the mistakes that I've made and other people have made in reaching out to me, how I use the job search feature, how do I message people, how to actually use the platform. I want to save it for another LinkedIn uh, workshop, which if I share a survey with you guys later, you can let me know if you would like that. Okay, so at this point, I would like to stop sharing and take any questions and hang around for the questions bit, because that's sometimes really, really valuable. So I worked in an organization which was recently merged into a larger organization. It doesn't have a logo anymore. Does logo matter? I like logos, but if it doesn't have a logo, it doesn't really matter. Logo just aesthetically is pleasing because every section on your LinkedIn has a logo. It just looks complete. But like I said, my volunteer experience and my undergrad university doesn't have a logo, but that doesn't take away the fact that I got a degree in that university. So it's okay. So if all that information is on one's LinkedIn profile, what more does a CV have to offer? There seems to be a lot of overlap in information. Good point. So your CV essentially is the primary document. What people will do is say, submit a CV, submit a resume, submit a cover letter. So say you submit that. As a recruiter, because I've done this, what I do is I look at the CV and then I hop on to social media and check out the person's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I want to make sure that what I see on the CV is reflected on the LinkedIn profile and in other social media. So for example, when I was applying for this job, and you know this because you were on my job interview panel, the person asking this question, I went to my Instagram profile and I changed even my Instagram heading to life design based concepts. I'm interested in life design. So that even that was reflective of who I am. And I changed it from private to public to private, because I didn't want people judging me and my qualities based on my Instagram photos or pictures or whatever, which is a different category of its own. So your question is there an overlap? Yes, there's overlap. Most people are really researching a candidate thoroughly. You want your CV or resume to be reflected upon LinkedIn. But the difference is, if you're looking at this as a Venn diagram, is that the differences, the side Venn diagram of LinkedIn, is that in LinkedIn you have more space. Sometimes a resume you don't have space. The resume is 2 pages long. LinkedIn, you have more space to be creative. You have more chance to have conversations with folks, and you have a greater chance of being visible. I always recommend people who are looking for jobs that if you apply on a website to a particular job, make sure you find the recruiter or the company, find the person on LinkedIn and re-message them and say, hey, I applied for this job on website, just to make sure your CV has gone to the top of the pile. So if I want a faculty position, how to make the most of LinkedIn? Great. I mean, if you go to the job section, which I showed you earlier, you just look at faculty positions, associate professor, professor, postdoc, different positions, they're all listed there. So when I was at the NIH, I posted staff scientist jobs. People asked me, where should I post it? Should I post it on Indeed? Should I post it on LinkedIn? I said people mostly are using LinkedIn, like that's the #1 professional networking website. So I posted it for them on LinkedIn. So faculty jobs, everything, same concept. Update your LinkedIn as if you were applying for a faculty job. Have your publications, list co-authors, state any awards, patents, grants that you got. There are many faculty positions out there, so check them out as well. Do some research on other people's faculty positions. Will it be possible to share the LinkedIn profiles of peers joining the workshop today? I'd love to connect with you all. Great networking, yeah. So I'll save the chat, and then if you want to add your LinkedIn profile, just drop it in the chat box. And then I'll send the slides over to you guys, and then I'll also add the list of all the people who provided their LinkedIn connections. Any other questions on video? Anyone brave enough to come and give me a break from talking? Was this sort of clear? And Ben, I really want to hear your views on if I've sold you on this whole LinkedIn platform thing.
I think so. I think I'm far more curious. I've seen how this is a tool. I'd be very interested in a follow-up workshop as to how better use this tool.
Okay, good. No, I wanted to mush it all together, but I didn't want to oversaturate you guys. So I'll spread it out to maybe having that other one in May. Is it necessary to open a LinkedIn profile for a new faculty member? What do you mean? You're saying open to recruiters if you're looking to go in a faculty? Then yeah, go ahead and open to recruiters anyway. Even if you're looking for a faculty position, set the open to recruiters button. Yes. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Sadia.
You mentioned that the Instagram profile is also very important when recruiters see you, and I do not know how that can be relevant to them, because my Instagram is totally personal. I have all personal photos there, and I'm not putting any tagline pertaining to my career aspirations there. So what changes? How does it affect my overall employability for a job or something? Because
Right. So it doesn't affect your employability per se, but when a person is doing background research, which everybody does, the recruiters are doing background research, they check out any avenues to notice any red flags. Particularly for a little higher level position, they're going to do their background research. So you just don't want to have people have lost their jobs based on what they post on social media, right? Like they've said racist remarks, and there's pictures of them doing terrible things, and people have lost their jobs. So what I'm saying is just be careful. So for this position, because I was transitioning from associate director to director, I wanted to make sure that I was being selected for the skills that I bring to the table. And so I didn't want my personal life, which by the way, it was completely public. Anyone could see it because I have a hashtag, for motherhood or whatever. It's all about me and my baby. I didn't want that to be a reflection and taint the perception. However, as soon as I got the job, I opened it back again because hey, that's just part of me. That's just part of my personality. It's open. Anyone can see it. So I'm just saying, be careful of what you post on your various social media sites when you're at that peak of job